Have you ever looked at someone and wondered, is there something deeper going on in their life that they're not saying out loud? Well, here's the fascinating truth. Psychologists agree that our behaviors, our little quirks, our moods, even the way we carry ourselves can sometimes reveal hidden truths about our emotional and yes, that includes our sexual activity or the lack of it. Hey, it's Amelia, and welcome back to Dark Psychology. Today we're diving deep into a topic that's both curious and revealing. 13 secret signs that a woman hasn't had sex for a long time. Now, before we get started, let's clear something up. It isn't an exact science. Every woman is unique and no single sign can give you the full picture. But when these signals start stacking up, they can provide intriguing insight into her emotional world and what she might secretly be craving. So stay with me till the end because a signal 10 will absolutely shock you. And at the very end, I'll give you a bonus tip on how to read these signs with empathy and respect so you don't just spot them, but also know how to handle them the right way. Sign number 1. Social media, a window into her world. Have you ever deep dived into someone's social media and noticed a sudden shift? Maybe her posts are more frequent than usual. Maybe she's sharing more selfies, adding flirty captions, or posting bold, tension-grabbing updates. Psychologists suggest that when a woman hasn't been sexually active for a while, she might unconsciously try to fill that void with validation online. It's her way of stirring up interaction, sparking conversations, or just reminding the world and maybe herself that she's still desirable. Think about it. Likes, comments, and attention on social media can temporarily replace the intimacy and validation that comes from a closer physical connection. It's subtle, but it's there. But here's the warning. Don't jump to conclusions. Social media is just a glimpse of her world, not the whole story. Some people are naturally expressive online, but if you notice a sudden shift, it could be a clue worth paying attention to. Sign number 2. The confidence echondrome, a silent signal pictures. You've always known her as confident, radiant, full of life, but suddenly, her sparkle feels dimmed. Her energy isn't quite the same. She seems a little more subdued, a little less sure of herself. Psychologists reveal that periods of sexual inactivity can sometimes shake a woman's confidence, almost like tremors that quietly disrupt their self-image. Intimacy, at its core, isn't just about the physical act. It's about validation, closeness, and feel. When that disappears for a while, it can ripple through her behavior. She may still smile but underneath she may feel less magnetic, less vibrant. And here's where it gets fascinating. This dip in confidence isn't always obvious to everyone, but if you know her well, you'll notice the subtle difference in how she carries herself. Think of it this way. Our intimate lives are deeply connected to our emotional flow. When one goes quiet, the other often reflects it. 3. Laughter, a love language or acre for connection. Ever been in a crowd and suddenly heard a laugh that cuts through the noise? Loud, unexpected, almost demand. Psychologists have a curious observation about this. That burst of laughter may not just be about amusement, it might be a subconscious scowl for connection. Studies suggest that when a woman hasn't been sexually active for a while, her need for validation can surface in other ways. Laughter is one of them. Think of it like this. Laughter is a universal love language, a way to connect without words, but when it's extra loud, extra noticeable, or a little more frequent than usual, it could be her way of reaching out, saying, see me, hear me, pay attention to me. Of course, laughter is as unique as a fingerprint. Some women are naturally bubbly and expressive, but if her laughter feels like it's carrying an edge of need rather than pure joy, it might be telling a bigger story. Sign number 4. The people pleaser, an indication of intimacy, inactivity. Ever met someone who goes above and beyond for others? Always putting everyone else first, almost to the point where it feels excessive. Here's a fascinating insight. Studies suggest that this kind of over-kindness can sometimes be a response to sex. Why? Because when a woman isn't getting intimacy in one part of her life, she may try to replace that closeness by pouring herself into theirs, seeking connection and validation through constant acts of giving. It's almost like she's saying, if I can't feel wanted in one way, I'll make myself needed in another. But there's the caution. Don't assume every people pleaser is sexually inactive. Altruism can be part of someone's core personality. The key is to note the seconds. A sudden shift where she's giving more than usual, almost desperately seeking appreciation. That's when it could be a sign of deeper unmet needs. Sign number 5. Touchy topics. A public affection, a playful connection. Now, let's talk about touch. Have you ever noticed a woman becoming more tactile in public? More handsy? Physically expressive? Psychologists suggest that when a woman hasn't been sexually active for some time, she might channel her unfulfilled desire for intimacy into casual, non-romantic touches. A gentle graze on your arm, a playful nudge, a lingering handshake. These little gestures can act like substitutes for deeper physical connection. It's her body's way off, satisfying a craving for closeness, even if just in small socially but, and this is crucial, respect and consent are always the rule. Just because she's touchy doesn't mean she wants more. It simply means her subconscious is seeking connection. It's your job to read it carefully, respond respectfully, and never push past boundaries. Sign number 6, Thogrenid glance. Envy or an unvoiced craving ever caught her watching other couples with just a little too much interest. Maybe she notices the way Amin holds his partner's hand, or how two people laugh together, and you spot that flicker in her eyes, a mix of curiosity and something deeper. Psychologists suggest that this kind of envy isn't always simple jealousy. Sometimes it's a reflection of her own longing. If she hasn't experienced intimacy in a while, seeing others enjoy that closeness can spark a silent craving inside her. It's less about resenting others and more about her own desire being mirrored by her. But here's the key. Envy it can come from many places. Insecurity, comparison, or even past heartbreak. Still, when you notice her consistently showing interest or even frustration about other people's relationships, it could be her unspoken way of saying, I want that too. Sign number 7, the spark. Heightened heterosil or a silent signal. This one is subtle but powerful. Have you ever noticed her blushing more icily? Maybe her breath quickens in situations whereas mood shifts or she seems extra sensitive to sensual cues. Research suggests that extended periods of sexual activity can actually heighten a woman's physical responses to stimuli. Her body becomes more reactive, her blush deeper, her pulse quicker, her attention sharper because she hasn't released that tension in a while. It's almost like her body is saying what her words don't. I've been away from intimacy, and now my senses are on high alert. But remember, arousal is personal. Everyone has different thresholds, and boundaries always matter. Don't assume, don't push, just observe. If you see these signals combined with other signs, you might be witnessing her quiet way of revealing that she's been out of the dating game for some time. Sign number 8. Supersensitivity. An emotional echo, or just hypertuned. Here's where things get real interesting. Have you ever noticed a woman who reacts more intensely than usual to everyday situations? Maybe she agrees at a movie scene that others barely blink at, or she dives passionately into debates where emotions send high. Psychologists propose that emotional sensitivity can sometimes be a side effect of sexual activity. Why? Because in time a cytosensors release physical tension. It balances emotions too. Without that alert, her subconscious may amplify her emotional responses as a kind of substitute. It's like her mind is overcompensating for what she's noticing physically. That tear-jerking sin becomes overwhelming. That menortisagriant feels explosive. That tender gesture hits her right in the eye. But here's the reminder. Some people are naturally sensitive, and that's beautiful. What makes this sign stand out is when her reactions feel newly intensified, as if something beneath the surface has shifted. Sign number 9, fear of loss, a red herring, or a silent alarm. Have you ever noticed a woman who seems unusually anxious about losing the people closest to her? She might cling tighter to friendships, constantly check in, or even show visible worry when Sumianism's distant. Psychologists suggest that this fear of loss can sometimes surface when a woman hasn't experienced attachment for a while. Without the security and comfort of a close romantic, her subconscious may amplify fears of abandonment. It's as if her mind is saying, if I didn't have new intimacy in my life, I can't afford to lose the emotional connections I already have. But let's be clear. Fear of loss can also stem from personal history, trauma, or general anxiety. It's not always linked to intimacy. Still, if paired with other signs, it could be a subtle leermail, revealing that she's longing for closeness she hasn't felt in some time. Sign number 10, motherhood instincts. A subtle hint. This one might ever noticed a woman subtly leaning into nurturing behaviors, caring more for friends, pets, or even almost as if her motherly instincts are turned up a notch. Psychologists suggest that this shift can sometimes be linked to sex. Why? Because intimacy doesn't just fulfill physical needs. It also satisfies emotional cravings for connection and care. When that's missing, those nurturing instincts may spill over into other areas of her life as a substitute. It's her unique way of meeting an emotional need, redirecting that desire for closeness into acts of. But again, context matters. Many women are naturally nurturing, so this sign only carries weight if it feels like a noticeable shift in her usual behavior. And here's the hook. Number 10 often shocks people because it's not what you'd expect. Instead of being about physical withdrawal, it's about emotional overflow. The urge to carry more deeply when she isn't being cared for intimately. Sign your LA11. The cling conundrum, a cry for intimacy. Have you ever had a friend who suddenly became your shadow? Constant texts, calls, and an overwhelming desire to spend time with you. Experts suggest that clinginess can sometimes signal a deeper unmet need. Intimacy. If she hasn't been in the romantic loop for a while, she might reach out in other ways, seeking closeness to replace what's missing. This doesn't mean she's needy in a negative sense. It means her heart and mind are searching for connection. That clinginess, when sudden and unusual, could be her subconscious saying, I miss intimacy. I miss feeling close to Zamian. But here's where sensitivity matters. If you notice this behavior, approach it with respect. Instead of judging, listen. Sometimes what looks like clinginess is really a vulnerable attempt to bridge the gap left by absence of intimacy. Sign Mudren 12. Friend zoning. A defense mechanism or a dating detour. Ever scratched your head wondering why a woman seems to put everyone firmly in friend zone? She's kind, warm, and engaging, but when it comes to taking things further, she quickly creates. Psychologists suggest this behavior can sometimes signal a break from intimacy by keeping potential partners at arm's length. She's subconsciously protecting herself from the vulnerability that comes with. In other words, the friend zone becomes a shield. It's her way of saying, I'm not ready to open that part of myself right now. But here's the, you can't always assume this is about intimacy. Some women just value a platonic connections deeply. The sign becomes meaningful only when you notice her consistently blocking out romance. Almost like she's on a dating detour, giving herself space before re-entering the game. Sign number 13, yearning for a sign of an activity. Now, this one dives into more Have you observed a woman who seems comfortable, even eager, about being dominated in non-sexual contexts? Maybe she likes strong personalities taking the lead, or she yields more easily in group decisions. Psychologists allege this preference could sometimes stem from suppressed desires in her intimate life. If she hasn't been sexually active for a while, her subconscious might redirect that craving for dominance into other areas, work, friendships, or social dynamics. But there's the key reminder. Dominance preference can also be part of her personality or lifestyle. It doesn't always mean inactivity. The important thing is to see if this behavior is newer, more intense than before. That's when it might signal a deeper story. Bonus sign. Jugger 14, restless energy. The hidden overflow. Have you ever noticed a woman who suddenly seems restless, pacing more, fidgeting with little things, or throwing herself into constant activity? Maybe she takes on extra work, goes to the gym more often, or even stays up late scrolling endlessly on her phone. Psychologists suggest that this restless energy can sometimes be linked to a lack of intimacy. Here's why. Sexual connection is not just physical release, it's also a natural regulator for stress, mood, and emotional balance. When that release hasn't happened for a while, the energy doesn't disappear. You might see her filling her schedule with endless distractions. Instead of stillness, you notice amusement, fidgeting, overthinking, multitasking. It's her body and mind saying, I've got energy to burn and nowhere to channel it. But here's the fascinating twist. This restlessness isn't always negative. Some women transform that energy into productivity, creativity, or ambition. They might pour it into work projects, personal goals, or fitness. On the surface, it looks like drive, but beneath it can also be a silent echo of intimacy missing from their lives. Remember, context matters. Restless energy can be a personality trait or just stress. But when you see paired with other signs like clinginess, sensitivity, or the confidence dip, it paints a bigger. She's carrying emotional weight that intimacy once helped lighten. So, there you have it. 13 secret signs. A woman hasn't had sex for a long time. From sudden shifts in social media, to nurturing instincts to friend-zoning as a shield. Each clue offers a glimpse into how intimacy, or the lack of it, can echo through her behavior. But here's the real question. Are you paying? Because once you learn to read these cues, you don't just see behavior. You see stories. You see the hidden layers behind her laughter, her talk, her habits, and her emotions. And that awareness gives you a rare advantage in understanding women at a deeper level. But remember, these signs are not about judgment. They're about empathy. Every woman has her own reasons, her own history, her own rhythm. Recognizing these signs is not about labeling her. It's about connecting with her more authentically. So, what's next? If you want to talk these further, check out my next video where women secretly like to be touched. It reveals the hidden signals of female desire and how to respond the right way. And if you enjoyed today's insights, make sure to like this video, drop a comment.